Maggie. I don't know if we've officially ever seen each other's faces live, but I'm Jess.
And I'm
Hi,
Maureen.
Jess. Hi, Maureen.
I'm not sure if I told you how I ever heard your story in the first place, but one of my dearest friends used to volunteer for the Do lectures. And do you know Christy Burrell? Does that name ring a bell? I'm not sure.
Of course I do.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Yeah, so she, you know how many inspiring stories there are there, and but she was like, you have to do a story on Maggie. She's the most amazing human ever to grace the planet. You have to do her story. So, that's how I
Mm.
first heard about you. So, but
Oh, give her my love
I
and a
totally
hug.
will.
And
So
Do
what
and
it.
time?
Jess and Jess
What?
told me that she heard of someone that had like 100 kids, and I was like, she what? We have to we have to have her.
So what time is it there?
It's like a little after 8. So
Okay.
I was just telling Christine, like, you're going to hear the rumblings of like teenagers and maybe some kids that should be in bed, but they're not. Just embrace. You're gonna have to embrace it, or we'll get really lucky and it'll be like spookily quiet, and then sometimes even that's a bad thing because it's
That's
too
that's a
quiet.
that's a foreboding. Oh man.
There are 53 children in this house, and I'm in like a quiet corner, tucked with the solar light on, and just praying to the electricity gods.
Wow,
Hmm.
Maggie. Well, you were born and raised a Jersey girl, and now can you just tell us where we're talking to you from and what it looks like where you're at?
Yeah, so I am in Nepal in the Karnali region, which is the northwest. It's often off the beaten track for people who know Nepal and Everest and Kathmandu and whatnot. And I've been living here for 19 years, and I raise children and I run an amazing organization called Blink Now.
So, we've heard you describe Nepal as a magical place. And for myself, being a foodie, I know that the Nepalese pastries are fabulous. But can you tell us a little bit about why it's so magical for you?
I think for me, I mean, you fall in love with Nepal because of the people and the children here are the ones who stole my heart. But there's so much diversity in people, in the landscape, in culture, in nature. It's really one of the most beautiful places in the world, and it's beautiful because of the people and the sense of community. And obviously, what Nepal is mostly known for is the mountains. Yeah, the Himalayas are stunning.
Yes,
Hmm.
they that's a understatement. They're absolutely remarkable. But for people who might not know your story or might not have read your memoir, how did a gap year after high school become one of the most inspiring humanitarian journeys in recent memory?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I wasn't planning on this at all. Like it was nowhere, anywhere in the books, even for the gap year. The gap year was about like learning a little bit more about myself and my place in the world of things and figuring out what I wanted to study in college. I had college written on my forehead, like every Jersey
Yeah.
girl of privilege growing up on a cul-de-sac with a mom and a dad and two sisters and a dog. And yeah, this wasn't part of the plan at all. And for my second semester of my gap year, I was placed in a program in northeastern India, and that was the year 2005. And I ended up kind of planted into a refugee organization working with Nepali refugees. And then I was like, Nepal, what? And Nepal, who? And I didn't really have context. And then you start meeting people who are displaced and leaving their countries and their villages and their places of origin. I made friends with my Nepali, now one of my closest friends, and we came to her village together to find out where she had come from and where her family was. And that was 20 years ago. And I ended up falling in love with this place, with this community, but also really feeling like there was space to do some major work following the conflict times and my passion in the early days and still today is in working with the most marginalized children and people and women. I ended up staying, and I met my co-founder, and we've been running who's a Nepali from this region, and we've been running the organization, and started really small and kind of just grew it little by little, bit by bit, and things changed and evolved. And I can't believe I'm here all these years later, but here I am.
You have to tell the story about hearing the children breaking the rocks and the moment that really this all sort of came to fruition.
Right. So the initial trip was just like two girls and a backpack. And we were tasked to like go find Sunita's village, my really good friend. And then on that journey, it really hit me for the first time. And this was before the time of like TikTok and Instagram and media frenzy, where you're seeing everything and so hyper aware of poverty and injustice and child labor. And it was on that trip that I really just started to get hit with those scenes and locking eyes with a child or a girl who looks just like you, but their reality is just so starkly and completely different. And as you know, those sort of awakenings and moments and crossroads and were happening, I stumbled upon a riverbed, and I looked up across the riverbed, and there were just dozens and dozens of little children and girls and 3-year-olds and teenagers breaking rocks. And they had mallets, and they were like grabbing these big bits of rocks, and they were breaking them into hundreds of little pieces. And I found out that they were selling the rocks for like 100 rupees, $1. And that was how they were making ends meet. And it was in that moment that everything kind of stopped. And I was like, we live in a world where 4-year-olds are breaking rocks into gravel on the side of a riverbed to survive. Like, it was just so tragic and the most unspeakable, unfathomable sight I had ever seen. And just there was something about locking eyes with one of those little girls and realizing that could be me, that could be my sister. What's different except where we were born and who we were born to and what lottery ticket we won on this planet. And that was really the moment where I was like, well, I can't do anything about 100 million orphan kids or poverty, starvation, war, violence, perpetual cycles of poverty. Every little girl in the world, their greatest dream is that they want to go to school. I can't do it. I can't fulfill every wish, but maybe I can do something for just one child. And, you know, it has not been easy, but I'm, you know, really put roots down, started working with the community, one child, one little girl at a time. And I was like, one day I want to walk across this dry riverbed and I'm not going to see a single little girl breaking rocks. And it took almost 2 decades now, but there's not a single child breaking rocks. And we run a school and a residential home and women's center and food and farming and a real true community development model for change and ending cycles of poverty and violence and child labor and injustice for children in some of the most marginalized communities of the world.
Maureen, did you just get the chills?
I'm speechless, and that's never happened, as you know, Jess. But Maggie, that is just so insanely inspiring. But I have to think back to like, you were 19, and Jess and I were talking about like, we have kids that age. What we would think if they called us and said, hey, send my babysitting money, I'm going to stay in Nepal. Like, my first instinct was overwhelming pride that your parents must feel and the kind of human that you are and that they were able to raise. But then my second feeling, Jess and I agreed, was like this overwhelming pit in our stomach, like, oh my God, they're not coming back. So I just think that it's got to be a special kind of upbringing that gave you that sense of independence at such a young age. Can you tell us a little bit about what your parents were like growing up and how they just let you go?
I know my mom has this line that she says. She's like, now everybody tells me I'm like the best mom in the world and the best parent. And they ask me, how did you raise such a child? She's like, anything had happened to you, if anything had happened, I would have been plastered on the cover of CNN for being the worst parent of the year. I think she said that like the year that we won CNN Heroes and there were billboards up and everything. So if anything had happened to you, but no, my parents are a really special part of the story, and they are kind and they were free spirited. I'm one of three girls. We are all adventurous and daring and athletic and like forces to be reckoned with. And I think that is them. Like when I was 5, we were hiking up waterfalls. We were camping under the stars. We were skinny dipping in lakes. We were barefoot. We were riding our bikes around the neighborhood, and the neighbors would be like, "Why is that little 3-year-old riding a bike?" Like they've raised us free range.
It sounds dreamy.
It was,
Yes.
I mean, this was back in the day. I'm sure you were raised different than your kids are being raised now.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
as a mom,
100%.
so I do think I always say like they were off the beaten track in some of the ways, and they were also ahead of their time. Like they packed us seaweed snacks for snack before seaweed snacks were a thing. Like
They didn't go to Whole Foods and get seaweed and
no, they were like real deal. Like you're
oh
gonna
man.
eat, you know. So yeah, they were and are amazingly supportive, and this was very hard on them, on our family. My mom was like, "Wait, you're not going to go to college?" It was a major 360-degree out of right field kind of thing that emerged, and to their credit, they asked really good questions. We had deep conversations. And it wasn't like this sudden I'm abandoning everything and all plans. It started with just like one little baby step at a time. Like, oh, I'm going to put some kids into school. Oh, now this and next this. And it was these kind of like micro steps that ended up becoming a life, and ended up with me deciding to mother, and ended up with really building a home and putting down roots. So that was a slow, gradual process. But the call for the babysitting money, they probably were like fainting on the other end of the line. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. They were fainting a little bit on the other end of the line. I feel like so just what you just said about mothering, I feel like so often you're sort of described as the little old woman who lived in a shoe with like dozens of children, and like how do you see it and how do you tell it?
So initially, it felt that putting kids into school was the answer, right? But then when you look at a child struggling with multidimensional poverty and orphanhood and homelessness and all of the barriers that they are up against from age 0 to adolescence, it's like 10,000 things. And we had to evolve from an organization that just enrolled kids into school to an organization that was raising children and raising community and building resilience within the community and ending orphanhood and ending child poverty and violence and ending. So I really kind of became clear, and my co-founder and my team, we were clear, like we want to go deep on this issue. And that evolved into, well, some of these children need a home and a family and love really, really clearly became the biggest metric. And when you think about raising children and you think about your own childhood, love is it. I mean, we don't talk about these things in poverty alleviation and international development, but if you want to start anywhere, it's with loving children, making sure that they are safe, nurtured, protected, loved, cared for. Because when you are raised in love, you can only give and emulate love, and you can only grow. And so we had to start from that place. And then from that place, orphanages are a flippin' mess. Foster care is a mess. Every single system that cares for the most marginalized and the most treasured, most precious, most sacred beings on our planet, like little kids, is broken. And so my 19-year-old naive self was like, well, I want to rethink this. I want to rebuild this. I want to do my own home. And it's going to be the home that you'd want to be raised in, or your kids would want to be raised in, or I'd want to grow up in. And I wasn't equipped with the fancy degree or the, anything beyond like a 19, 20-year-old. Why are we doing it this way? But I don't know, there was something about that willingness to learn and really look at the systems and work with my local amazing community that started to work. And then living here and rethinking children's homes and orphanages and how messed up the whole place it was, the whole space, I ended up becoming a mom and adopting children. And in the early days, it was just me and my co-founder and families and in a house. And then slowly it kind of grew into a model and a beautiful, beautiful home and family. And then the kids came down one day downstairs, and they're like, "We're going to call you mom." And then suddenly it was 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 kids, 30 kids, 40 kids. I remember when we hit 50, my mom was like, "You need to stop this." To this day, I'm like, why? Now, you know what's crazy? My oldest kids, they're like 26 now. Like they're older than me when I started, and my youngest is 6 months old. And now not only do I have like the problems of infants and toddlers, and kids are hard, now 20-year-olds are not easy either. Nobody told me that.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like a grandma in a minute. It's like crazy.
Oh gosh.
So
I always
many
had a rule with
kids?
the girls. I was like, "You will not have children before me. You will not have, I will not become a grandma." So I haven't become a grandma yet.
Oh,
So how
God.
many kids have you
my
adopted?
first generation of kids who we raised here at the home.
Uh-oh.
Have 53, and I have 2 biological children too.
So I'm sorry, can you say that one more time for us? Because our audio kind of cut. Oh, we almost lost you there. How many kids have you adopted to this point?
So the first generation of kids who are now in their 20s and off at college and starting jobs and lease agreements and all of that, there's 44.
Wow.
And new generation of kids here at the home, we have 53. And
Wow.
2 of those are 2 of my biological children. I've since gotten married to an amazing husband, and I have 2 bio babies as well.
So Jess and I each have 2 boys, and they can drive us crazy, just 2 of them. I mean, you talk about love as a metric, and we are full of love as parents, but there's got to be times when you've got to be pulling your hair out with 50 kids. I mean, what does that even look like?
So first of all, I have a huge team now with lots of support. And I tell this to women and my friends all the time. We were not meant to do this alone. We evolved as tribes. We are not supposed to be in a house with a fence and a car doing this in isolation. And if there's anything I've learned from mothering in communal space, this is the way that you do it. So there are lots of us. I have a house full of aunties and didis, and we are a true communal family living as a village, as a whole. And somebody's cooking and someone's putting kids to bed, and tonight someone else is doing story time, and we sing songs, and we also are a tight ship. But yes, they drive me absolutely off the wall. It is the hardest thing in the entire world because you love them so much that they also just drive you crazy. And it's scary as hell to raise children. And your heart is constantly, they say that's the cliche, your heart's outside your body, and it's also true. Yeah. And it's also maddening. It's chaos. It's the best kind of chaos, but yeah, there are moments that are just insane. There are moments where I just like laugh because there are moments where I'm like, is this a reality TV show? How did this happen today? There are moments that I'm like on the ground. There are moments where I can't get out of bed. There are moments where I'm sky high thinking of 8 billion people on Earth. I'm the luckiest in this planet. Like it's up and down. That's the journey of motherhood. Your best days, your worst days, your best self, your worst self. Right? That's what it is.
We're with you.
We're totally with you. I mean, that really speaks to the quote from your memoir where you say, loving children is easy, but caring for them is harder than anything you could have possibly imagined. Can you just speak to some of the heartbreaks that you've had to endure and um, how you've gotten through it?
Well, I lost my son, Robbie. It's been 9 years. And that was and continues to be one of my biggest heartbreaks. And that's a really big part of the memoir and our documentary that's coming out. So, experiencing child loss is by far, the worst depths of the human experience, I think. Um, and then there's everything else, like dropping your kid off at college, and you're happy, but you're heartbroken too, and watching them go through their first heartbreak, and watching them ride a bike for the first time, and dropping them at their first day of school. It's yeah, caring for them is impossibly hard, and loving them and losing them and raising them so that they're independent and ultimately fly from the nest, and yeah, watching them struggle, and having so many. I have kids who are popular and make friends easily, and I have kids who are lonely, and I have kids who are the best athlete on the team and the ones that never get picked. Like, I've got everything, and in between, so I get to live and experience all of it.
I apologize for interrupting.
Okay, Maggie, Jess and I both only have two children, so the idea of 50 children that are driving us crazy is just beyond. I mean, we love them, and you talk about love as a metric, and we are loving parents, but there's got to be days that those kids just drive you mad. What is it like with that many?
Yeah, I think first of all, I think I have a lot of help, and we raise our children here communally, and there's aunties and uncles and DDs and lots of grown, and we're truly a village. And I think that's how women, especially, and mothers, are meant to raise children. We're meant to be together, we're meant to be in commune, we're meant to be sharing the load. And I think that when you think of motherhood in the Western context as this thing that we do alone and in isolation and in a house, it's not meant to be that way. I really truly believe that from an evolutionary standpoint, we're meant to be all of us together as a collective. And I've learned that by living in a big family. But second of all, it's really hard, and they drive me absolutely crazy. And there are moments that are so crazy chaotic, and I feel like I'm pulling my hair out, and there are moments that are heartbreaking, and there are moments that are the best days of my whole life, and I think I'm the luckiest on earth. And there are days that I can't get out of bed, and it's a roller coaster of ups and downs, and your best days and your worst days, and the best version of yourself and then the worst version of yourself moments later. And through that, you get a really whole life, and you're you know I wouldn't choose it any other way, and I love being with children, but it's full on. Motherhood is full on. Yeah.
It's especially full on for you,
Yeah.
more full than for others, but um,
To the
to the extreme. We Maureen and I were talking about this interview, and we were saying meeting your husband, it's not like you can go on Match and say, "Oh, I'm looking for a husband to help me raise 93 children with me in Nepal. I love long walks on the beach." So, how did you meet him and find someone who was ready to join you on this wild ride?
Oh my gosh. So no one ever thought I was going to meet anyone. And I definitely didn't think that was in the cards for me. And I was so focused on what we were working to build and create here, and mothering. And then I actually ended up meeting my man, and now partner and husband and father of my children. I was invited to speak. The organization was growing. I started, speaking and talking. I gave a talk at something called the Do Lectures, and my husband was there, and we met and like instantly connected. My friend Libby kind of made it all happen, and just really, at first sight, instant connection, like I want to know this person. And that grew and evolved over a year. We ended up meeting again after the tragedy that I went through, and we've been together ever since. And he is just rock solid, sturdy tree of a human being, and gives me hope for the world and hope for love and hope for partnership. I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky, and I love him so much, and he's fit into the picture in a beautiful way. So never say never. If I can do it 1,000 miles away with this many kids, maybe there's a love story is like my favorite story of all time. It's just, yeah, it's been so great, and life has been so good to me. And I think, yeah, one big reward, one big thing that has brought me stability and strength and support. I never knew or imagined a life in this way, but it's been really awesome. Yeah.
So we talked about how we're all mothers, and you had the unfortunate experience of losing a child. And Jess and I talk about, this term self-care that everyone talks about here in America. It's, giving yourself time, and it can be abused and overdone. But when you have to take care of yourself and your heart before you can take care of all those children, what does that look like for you? Is it possible with that many children? I mean, give these other mothers some hope that are just struggling with one or two children, or loss or grief or, health issues. It seems like you've kind of had the run of it, but you're still smiling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not anyone to teach, because I'm still learning and I'm trying to practice. And I don't know, self-care has become another term that it's just one more thing for us to fail at. Like one more like now I'm failing at self-care too. And it's like, oh, you have to put on your oxygen mask for yourself before you can help others. And you're like, thank you.
Right.
And you need to have good teeth and good skin. And you should, if you want more hours in a day, you should exercise. You should. And remember to take a walk, and remember
Don't
to
forget
meditate.
protein.
You have the app. Oh my God.
Don't get me started on protein.
It's so like become this one more thing that it's on us, because well, you're not taking time for self-care. Oh, you're not taking care of yourself, and that's why. And you're like, thank you. I didn't know that I also it's just like, how did we make like one more thing that we needed to be good at? But I'll
Because
tell you
we're women. That's what we do. Come on.
We're overachievers. You're an overachiever. Jess is an overachiever. I'm an overachiever. All three of us are also middle children, I learned, and getting to know a little bit more about you. And I also know that you love Sarah Blondin like I do. Obsessed. So if you don't know who Sarah Blondin is, she leads meditation, and she's just this purest soul that has really, for me, given me permission to focus on stillness and silence. And I think those two things are golden. And when you talk about self-care and another thing for us to fail at, she's someone who I turn to, and I know you do too, who gives you those two simple, free things to remember that help you get through the day: stillness and silence. And if all women and men could just give themselves permission for those two things at moments in their day, I feel like we can conquer the world.
Yes, you nailed exactly that. It's been redefining what it means to reconnect with self and reconnect with inner, and quiet the noise and quiet the distraction and take that deep breath. And Sarah Blondin has been that for me. I mean, she's gotten me out of the trenches. Like I feel like that podcast was just for me, even though thousands and thousands of us listen to it. I'm like, she's speaking to me every time. Like
Every time. We're best friends. Yeah.
Yeah. Just no. And no, I agree. And I don't know, like I've had to take it off the checklist and really deprogrammatize myself, and like really simple. Like when I have to go to the bathroom, I will go to the bathroom.
Thank
Like,
God.
But seriously, as a mother, sometimes you're like, I don't have a second to do that for myself. And so like, yeah, self-care
So
doesn't have to be,
bad.
skincare and protein and all of these other crazy things.
It's
That's
like
right. We don't have to
bathroom.
light candles. We just need to go to the bathroom.
Right.
So
Women, if
bad.
you're out there doing that, you're killing it. You're crushing
Yeah,
it already.
you're going at 100. Good job, everybody.
But what Sarah taught me, and what moments of stillness and quiet teach you, is to just listen. And when you're listening, you're like, oh, I'm thirsty. Like I need a glass of water. And it's not like, oh, drink more water and make sure you get 2 liters and it's 1/4 of your body weight minus 20, and drink an effing glass of water, like
Because you're thirsty.
that's it.
That's
Right.
it. When you're thirsty, drink. When
Drink.
you have to pee, do it.
Go pee.
This is the advice
And-
from one of the most brilliant humanitarians on the planet. We got it.
But we're so like up here and just like go and perform and do
Yeah.
that it's like just take a beat, take a minute, recenter, breathe, and the moments of magic happen in the moments of quiet, right?
Totally.
Like
100%.
that's every magical moment. Like even think about my life being transformed on the side of a riverbed in Nepal. It was a smile. It was a moment of quiet. It was a moment of questioning. And like we all are looking for answers and answers and answers and answers. I'm like, just live in the question. Live in the question of like, how am I going to take care of myself today? What do I need? What does she say, Sarah? She's like, I love you.
I'm listening. Yeah.
Oh,
Girl.
so good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Honestly. And
Like
so,
just try that. Like, I love you. I'm listening.
and you're saying that to yourself,
Ugh.
everyone. That's what you're supposed to be. It's like you're listening to yourself and you love yourself. So it's very powerful.
And you're like, I gotta go pee.
Yeah.
I love you. I'm listening, and I need a bathroom.
Right. Yeah.
Or like you notice like, oh, wouldn't like something green be nice, or wouldn't something crunchy be nice? Like food has become, just this thing that we overthink, or like, oh, a lemon in my water would be nice, or
Or a hug.
nice.
instead
Or
it's like electrolyte. Yeah, a
Yeah,
hug.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you
So,
spend your time now
that's what I'm
between
trying.
Nepal and New Jersey, right? You're between the two?
Well, just to throw in and sprinkle in a little something, I'm married a Canadian. My husband's Canadian.
Okay.
And so we also he's one of 6 kids, and they live on Vancouver Island. So we spend some time in Canada too now.
So all three. So you
To
triangulate.
simplify.
So I just was curious, like, growing up in New Jersey and then moving to Nepal, there's got to be some creature comforts that you miss. I know that your whole outlook on life is really to disregard the material things and how that doesn't give you success or that doesn't bring you joy. But what do you miss about the States? Like, what are some of those things that you just love when you get back here?
I'm still kind of materialistic.
We're programmed that way. We were programmed that way. We grew up here.
I'm like, I still like to have a nice pair of sneakers. And yeah, I think there's this misconception, like the nonprofit world is like, I will give away all of my belongings and all of my worth, and I will live a life of servitude. And I've really been working as a Jersey girl. I've been working on like, no, get yourself a nice pair of jeans, or yeah, get a good haircut. I love a hot shower. I love a washing machine. I love
Girl, you don't have
ice.
to be from the Jers to love a hot shower. It's
Yeah.
okay.
I know she said that like it was like a real luxury.
Like a luxury.
Yeah.
And maybe it is. I don't know. That's
Well, for where she is, it could be.
It is. No, but so I don't think you have to like forgo all of your humanly possessions. But the one thing I have learned is like when you have it, just like be super duper grateful for it. And like
I love that.
just that's the remedy for the overthinking of like, oh, should I get this nice thing? Or, oh, there's all this extra food at this dinner that I'm at this fancy blah, blah, blah. Or like, there's a lot of guilt right now in privilege, and privilege has kind of become a dirty word. And
Yeah.
what I think we need to reframe is to that which a lot has been given, power, privilege, rights. A lot needs to be given back. And
Preach.
that we have a responsibility to share.
Yeah.
And also just like enjoy it. There's no worse look than like you're drinking a nice coffee and you're like, is that coffee $4? Like, oh my God, that coffee could save a child. It's like, no, we need to enjoy the nice cup of coffee that we have and be there for all of it, and stop like shaming and comparing and living in this space of constant, criticism, and really be like, let me be grateful for what I have, and let me look at every single possibility that I can to make the world better and give back and share and level up the rest of the world. Like I don't want less for your children. I want more for all the other children, right? It's like we think we need to deduct and subtract and less than and take away and cut. And that's because we're living in this scarcity. But instead, I just want more for everyone. I want everyone
And
to
there
have
and
good
there
coffee.
can be.
And-
There can be. Less for mine doesn't mean less for yours or more for me. It just there's enough for all.
There is.
Exactly. Like you're having a nice coffee in the morning isn't gonna get clean water to a child that's dying from dysentery. It's so you where you are and what you have, and be in that, and then use that to level up and make sure that everybody has the same exact thing and the same exact rights and the same exact, opportunity.
Yeah.
And we need to change the opportunity gap, not like worry about a cup of coffee, so
Right.
and I didn't get that right for a very long time, and I'm working on getting that right. It kind of connects back to self-care. Like me living in a constant state of like comparing. You can't compare Nepal to New Jersey. You can't compare this community to that community or this issue to that issue. All we can do is show up with all we got each and every day and try to live a more connected, more peace-loving, more child-centered, more compassionate life, and make decisions that are in alignment with that. And if we can do that as a human family, we can do anything. Like we can do anything. We don't have to keep living in this story of 160 million orphaned children and kids and violence and war and cold and hunger. Like I really believe that we can find a new way of being in the world, and I want to be a small piece of that. And I think women and mothers everywhere, like, have you ever met a mom that doesn't want all children to be safe and loved? Have you ever met a dad? Like,
No.
I believe in our humanity. I believe we're going to figure this out and find a way to live as a human family where children are safe. Like, I have
Yes.
to
Oh my
believe in
God, Jess, are you just ready to go out and save the world now? Like, I feel so inspired.
I know there's
You
a
get
lot
to
of
keep your
wisdom
coffee,
before
too.
11 o'clock in the morning for me,
Right.
but it's all. I think we need to give you an opportunity to tell people how they can help, to talk about Blink Now, to tell us all about your documentary. Can you just sort of do all the things?
Oh, thank you. So, we're called Blink Now, Changing the World in the Blink of an Eye. You can follow us on blinknow.org and on all the socials, and get involved in any way you see fit. Follow along on the journey, share, like, subscribe. And then I wrote a book. It's called Between the Mountain and the Sky. It's a memoir that really deep dives into the story, and it's a love letter to the human family in Nepal and my own children about how I think we can do better, and all of my learnings and my questions. And then my husband, who I happened to marry, Mr. Canadian, amazing guy, was a filmmaker. And he spent the last 10 years making a movie, a documentary called Between the Mountain and the Sky. And it's coming out this spring. And it
Amazing.
is sweeping up awards around the world at film festivals. And everyone's just absolutely loving it. And I'm really excited for it to come out.
Oh, I hope there's a screening in the Northeast. Maybe New York, we can go see it, Jess.
Yeah,
That'd be
girl,
I'll
amazing.
invite
I'm-
you. I'll
Oh,
invite
we'd
you.
love that.
That would be amazing. All of that amazing stuff. We always love to ask our guests at the end, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Get up, keep going. Keep your head up. Get out of bed. Watch your face. Keep going.
I
You
love
got
it.
this.
It sounds so
One
simple.
step at a time. Mhm.
Well, I want to ask a follow up to that. I've heard you say that if you knew then what you know now, maybe you wouldn't have had the optimism that you had at that time. What advice would you give your 18-year-old self if you could?
Well, I admire my 18-year-old self for not thinking about all of the what ifs and the have not and but she didn't know how hard it was going to be and how heartbreaking, and she didn't know what she was getting into, and that naivete and like optimism and starry-eyed version was great. And I think I would just go back and tell her, you're going to be hard. It's going to be hard. You're going to go through hard times, and keep going and keep your eyes on that vision and that mission, and learn and grow and evolve and stay close to women and moms. They're going to be your guiding light, and they're going to be people like, those are my people. So keep women in your corner, surround yourself with women, and yeah.
I'm definitely inspired to keep going. I'm sure you are too, Jess. And we cannot wait to see what you do next, Maggie.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your
Likewise.
time, for letting us get a little glimpse of some of your little ones. I saw your husband's arm. Thank you for all
Yes.
thank you for all of that. Really. It's been an honor.
It was amazing. Thanks, Maggie.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this platform with me. It's been fun.